Platinum Grammy-winning music
Oh, I thought they were the
sensation.
same person.
They're not. I know people
And-
get confused like that, but believe it or not, one of them is British, and it's not the guy with face paint.
And Sting, the Elvis short sword.
Right, but I don't think anyone is like mistaking the two of them as swords. Like, but
You
it's
don't
like
know that.
weird.
I just like
I mean,
how it
like-
came full circle because Sting's the one in the Sprite commercial.
Yes, he is beating up a kid for.
He
whatever
also
reason.
did the music for The Emperor's New Groove.
All the same people, clearly. We're live now, by the way.
And he's also watching you, specifically you, Splice.
Interesting.
Every step you take, Sting is around the corner.
That's about you?
Yes, it is.
You got to move out of my house, man.
I want to remind you that I'm supposed to be paying rent tomorrow. You sure you want
Yes,
that
you
to
are.
happen?
You can leave on Friday.
I'm not leaving for a month if I pay for rent.
Yeah, plus, you know, he would have to leave Utah since all of Utah is technically the boundaries of your house now.
That's not how it works.
I have hieroglyphics that I found in a cave that says otherwise.
That salt cave is a liar.
Well, salt cave can be a liar or not. That is something for the courts to decide. And I've already paid them to decide that I'm right.
Yes, but how much did you pay them?
That is between me and Joey Numbers, who is our go-between.
The answer is not enough.
Is anyone else lost on Kami's Rambling?
Were we ever found?
You have to be lost before you can be found.
Not all those who want.
I thought it was
or whatever it is.
I thought it was, you know, you're lost, but now you see.
No, it's you're blind, but now you're found.
So does that mean Daredevil is always found?
No, he's just fulfilled the prerequisites.
So he's fulfilled the prerequisites, but like nobody is finding this guy? Like, why bother then?
I mean, they may just not want to find him.
See,
Nobody's
this sounds
looking.
like this sounds like an
Especially
SOP
not him.
problem.
Okay, I'm glad someone added a game in the list I didn't think about. Yeah, cool.
Oh, right, the list.
Hashtag list.
You just made the list.
Is it the Franz list?
No, it's it's the list of Jericho. You make the list, it's bad. I don't know why it's bad, but it's bad.
You're on the list?
Oh.
Hello, Lizzie.
Hey, Lizzie!
This is gonna be fun. All right.
I don't feel so bad about not having a whole bunch of content. We've got a bunch of people here.
This is what I wanted for this episode in particular because I think this is a very interesting topic, but it's one where I want a lot of coverage. And so,
Like camera coverage?
more just, you know, because we all play different games and such.
No, fair enough.
And how weather affects each one is interesting. Okay. Mithril, say a sentence about what the weather was like for you today.
Weather out here is hot and humid. Going to the is that good enough?
Yeah, your volume's good. Lunisar, do the
Okay.
same.
There's like a little bit of rain, enough to where I'm like, oh, maybe I don't need to turn on the sprinklers yet, but then not enough to where maybe I do need to.
Lizzie, what do you think you should do about the sprinklers?
I don't know, but I saw a really awesome lightning bolt on the way home from picking up my kid.
See? Perfect. All right. Kamizite.
I got pepperoni pizza crisps, and I'm eating them right now. They are delicious. They're made of melted Parmesan and pepperonis.
The best weather.
Yeah, that wasn't the weather I expected, but it's New Orleans after all. Bagginses.
Round the rough and rugged rocks the ragged rascal rudely ran.
I don't know what weather that is. All right. Everyone's volume is good. We are ready to get started. So, silence. Here we go. When I decided we were going to be covering the weather, I was trying to think of the first game where I really noticed the weather. As I started panning through my memories, I came across one where the weather didn't matter to the gameplay, but it definitely mattered to the feel of the opening of the game. And that would be, of course, the intro part of Link to the Past. As soon as you get out of your cabin and it is raining and storming, and it is showing off the fact that the Super Nintendo can do things on multiple layers. It made it very cinematic, and I loved it. And this is episode 56 of I Think You Overleveled. We're talking about video game weather, which is something that we don't think a lot about, but it's in a lot of games. It really adds to the ambience of a lot of the games. It can ruin some parts of the games.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Baggins, since you spoke first, what's the first game that you can think of that you had to deal with weather in the video game?
Oh, it's absolutely Harvest Moon.
A farming
The
game.
SNES
That makes sense.
The SNES game. Every day you have a TV that one of the 2 or 3 channels on it is the weather channel. You check the weather for the next day, and somehow the weather channel is 100% accurate all of the time, which, so that this is a fantasy game. But
It's the biggest sign, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it affects things, whether you keep your animals outside, whether you have to go out and water everything. And that feature has been in basically every Harvest Moon clone since, because, it's kind of important when you're talking about farming.
Okay. Mithril, what was the first game you noticed the weather in?
First game I noticed the weather in. Actually, really tough. I'm trying to think back on that.
Come back to you.
Skip me for now.
Lunisar.
Well, first, I'm trying to think if there was an NES game with severe weather, but because obviously, Link to the Past is one of the first Super Nintendo games. Definitely noticed that because that cinematic intro is amazing, and I played a lot of Harvest Moon, and that one is not just whether or not rain. It's not just the rain either. In the summer they could have like a tornado, which would even destroy like some of your crops and some of your fencing and litter it with rocks and branches all over
and destroy the plants.
Yeah, so weather was a big deal. I think that as far as like having a huge impact in the gameplay itself, I do think Harvest Moon probably is one of the first. I was trying to think if there was like a game on the NES that really had weather as a big aspect, but I can't think of one.
It's kind of hard because in order to do weather stuff actively, you kind of do need the ability to have a lot of layers that you can put stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
I think there was a Mega Man game where there was.
Yeah, I was about to say, the Mega Man that has like wind and rain, right?
So I asked Breakfast that, and he said there wasn't a level that included wind. Now, some of the bosses did, obviously, but there wasn't a level that included wind until 7.
That is categorically untrue.
Which
Mega
one?
Man 2. Airman stage.
Airman stage
will literally blow you off if you did not platform correctly.
No, that's not weather based. That's the demon robot heads that are blowing at you.
But it's Airman and you're up in the clouds.
Right.
So
exactly. There's an argument to be made for it, but there's also an argument against it.
Because in the same, what are we defining as weather? Like natural phenomenons, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So depending on where you are in the world, lava is weather. And you go to Heatman stage and you can get lava to death.
That's still implied to be
that's
artificial.
more hazard, though.
Yeah, and Heatman is also more like molten slag than actual lava.
He's a living Zippo lighter. Like, come on, let's give him.
Which is still one of the more interesting robot designs.
It is, but what is he gonna do there? Like, if they went with his design, then his powers would be doing sick tricks off of his genes, and that's. cool and such, but like that's not a great boss to fight. But I mean, like Mega Man 2 is my answer because Airman, that I would consider a weather effect. You are up in the sky. It is windy. He blows you around. It's weather. He's Airman. He's in the air. He's doing air things.
Now, Splice, you and I talked about this the other day, but does day-night count as weather, or is that...
if we run out of content, it does. If
Okay.
I think there is so much content with day-night that's an episode unto
exactly
itself.
that was the the way it is in video games. I think it can count as weather. Just 'cause it tends to be used a similar way, but Lunastar made a convincing argument for an episode on that.
I think it's kind of similar to like ice levels. Ice is kind of weather, but it's so much that you could do your own, podcast on just ice levels.
Yeah, but ice ice kind of feels like the result of weather rather than weather itself.
Fair point.
Well,
unless it's snowing in the level. Like, does it have to actively be snowing to count towards this episode?
That's what I would normally say, but it's squishy. Lizzie, what was the first one for you?
I'm sitting here trying to think because I know the one that's coming to mind, but I'm like, was there actually something before that? But the one that comes to mind, one that comes to mind for me would be Pokemon Emerald.
Which one was is that Gen 3?
3 for
Okay.
GBA.
Yeah. Because I remember 2, the big thing was the day-night cycle that they added. And then I heard they added weather, and I'm like, how does that work? Like, does it just suck to be a fire type when it's raining?
Yes, it does. Gen 2, I didn't play until after we got married and they had the remake with Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So for me, Gen 3 was the first Pokemon with weather.
And okay, I want to start there with Pokemon actually, because that's the one that
May I say?
Oh, they're right. I
First
forgot.
one, and then we can.
My apologies.
Yes, I said skip, and then Looney also thought of something else.
Yeah, because
you go first, Mithril.
Okay. I thought of the first one that I can recall is Wind Waker.
Ooh,
And that the riding out on the sea, and then sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes you hit a really bad storm, and then especially when you have the typhoons and cyclones that are going around the sea that you have to deliberately go into, and as a kid doing that was terrifying.
Well, not to mention you have the power to manipulate the wind in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in order to learn how to do that, you need to, sometimes push the bill and do stuff that's like, hey, you want to learn how to get the cyclones to take you places? You need to go into the cyclone and fight the god of the cyclones until he notices what he's doing and who you are, and is like, oh, hey, I noticed that thing you have. Let me teach you how to use the winds.
I completely forgot about, ironically, Wind Waker. No, that's kind of a big deal.
It's literally in the name. How did we forget?
Because we're old.
I never played Wind Waker.
But no, being on the ocean with the waves, it was really cool.
I mean, this game is kind of built around ocean weather, yeah.
No, but I'm saying, is ocean classified as weather for the purposes of this conversation?
No,
but the winds.
Like, it actually affects the ocean. Like, it had actual weather on the ocean, so as it starts raining, the waves would pick up and it'd become harder to navigate across, and there'd be water spouts you'd have to avoid. It was actually quite involved now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's an underrated game in my opinion. It got a lot of rough criticism because of the art style was such a drastic change.
Well, because it felt they promised something else when the game.
Oh yeah, me and my friends were ones that didn't give it a chance when it first came out because I was totally on that bandwagon. It took someone else. In motion, it's actually pretty good. Give it a chance.
Honestly,
we didn't
it is still to this day one of my favorite Zelda games in general. And it breaks my heart every time I hear people who just like, I decided to not give it a chance because it looked baby game. And I'm like, well, you're a baby game, but I don't know.
Hey, I've definitely played through it now.
Yeah.
We've since repented, so like, calm down, dude.
Nah, no worries.
Now, I know Lunarstar had one, but I do have one clarifying question before we move on. But Luna, go first.
All right, so, I mean, actually, on the topic of Zelda, I think the first Zelda one, you got the warp tornadoes, which also came back in Super Mario Brothers 3. I mean, that was magically created, but it was a tornado that came and picked you up. But also in Super Mario Brothers 3, the angry sun, if you want to count that as weather.
Oh, the angry sun was...
I don't know what to classify the angry sun as. I don't think we can classify
force
him
of
as
nature.
Actual
is sun weather?
Nature. He's a bad
Sunny is
God.
definitely
If
Sunny is definitely something that's classified on weather.com.
Yes, but the angry sun isn't weather. The angry sun is an actual enemy.
The angry sun is a...
I would argue that a sunny day is the actual enemy too.
Yes, but
consider a sunny day with a shell and cause the sun to disappear.
I mean, I wish I could. That's the dream, man.
Now, I'm just curious, you consider phases of the moon as weather?
I was wondering the same for Final Fantasy.
It would
depend Majora's Mask.
It would depend upon the game. Because, like, if it's actually affecting the weather, like it's doing tidal stuff, which does affect the weather, then yes. If it's just there for,
that's the day-night cycle, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that Majora's Mask if you want to count the angry moon in Majora's Mask, no. But I'm stretching it. But I just had to think of an NES example, and that's what I
don't think I would normally classify celestial objects falling from space to be weather.
Weather
events,
sun,
though.
They can, but Majora's Moon is, I believe, exclusively listed under acts of God.
I feel like
you're saying your insurance doesn't cover it.
Yes, insurance does not cover the moon crashing into the planet.
Covers the moon crashing into the Earth.
It definitely does not. Oh, right.
I mean, mine does, but I have fantastic coverage. But question before we move on.
Yes.
Clarifying question. So, is this the first game that we noticed weather, or the first game that we noticed weather as an effect?
I was accepting either.
Because Mega Man 2 would be weather as an effect. But if the first game I recognize, I noticed weather would be the opening cutscene to Ninja Gaiden, which you see Strider's dad bite it in a ninja attack in basically the first 30 seconds, and then that's
it's the opening cinematic.
Yeah. The opening cinematic to Ninja Gaiden, which is I think fantastic for an NES. I didn't queue it up. This just came to me as we were talking.
Okay, I'm just curious. Did you purposely try to nerd snipe right there? Because the fact that you just called Ryu Hubasa as Strider.
No. Look, I've been cleaning all day. I'm relaxing back and having an Andy Gator. Karina's mom's coming tomorrow, so we're. But no, I wasn't trying to snipe. It's Strider.
It was a good nerd snipe though. It really was.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to nerd sniping. Except if I can snipe.
I'm glad you mentioned.
Why not? It comes with a great sign-up bonus.
Does it?
I'm glad you mentioned Ninja Gaiden, because now that you say that, it reminded me.
There is one of the early levels, I think, has you running through the rain, doesn't it?
Well,
you know what? Yeah, now it has you running through the rain, and I think that there's a wind effect that can blow you off.
Well, Ninja Gaiden 2 definitely does have that. I'm trying to find it on this. And I only remembered it because when I asked Breakfast for his memories. There we go. Yeah, here we go.
There's some
the lightning,
lightning effects, and then later on in this level there will be wind, I think.
Dude, this level or the one right before or after, where it's if you jump into the wind, then you can't jump as far.
No, it's
but
the
if
one
you jump
before.
with
You're
the
right.
winds,
I also think Demon Sword also had lightning like that too.
Oh yeah, there was the wind right there.
Yeah, and so those
killed many, many people.
Yeah, I knew that I knew I'd played something like this on the NES.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was like,
Am I
swear
also-
there's something. No, I just can't remember what.
This is, off the cuff. Am I also imagining that Metal Gear Solid had weather? I don't know if weather affects and affected gameplay, but weather.
I mean, it was snowy, but
there
one
was
of
the
them
key.
had to
Well,
have.
there was an item that you had to keep at a certain temperature, and if you took too long in the snow, it'd get too cold. So that did impact the gameplay.
I forgot
wouldn't
about that.
surprise me if at least some of the Metal Gear Solid games had weather effects that mattered, because I know that they had some of them had the in-depth camo system and everything.
Well, that in Metal Gear Solid 2, the tanker there was rain outside, and that affected the terrain. Flipped a bit more in the rain, like the boss battle with Olga, for example. But I guess I thought of another NES example just in the opening credits. But there was lightning in Crystalis when it talked about the end day, and it even made the thunder sound in it.
There was also a nuclear apocalypse, which I don't know if that's weather, but it affects the weather at least mildly.
Yeah, there was a bit of that too.
I hope it's not so consistent that it becomes considered weather.
So I thought of one in ActRaiser.
Okay.
You're literally playing the part of a deity, and you have the option to perform miracles to do various things. So
true.
Because you could bring rain for the crops. You could shoot lightning at where monsters are. Yeah. You could even use lightning to help clear forests out.
Yeah, right here. That's what's going on. Is you choose to do lightning and then clear out the bushes, and it's a direct part. It's
as well.
It's not a what I would call a weather effect, where weather affects you, but rather it's an ability where you affect the weather.
I guess this is also classified under acts of God.
Well, I mean
quite literally.
In ActRaiser, yeah.
Oh, this also brings to mind City building games like SimCity.
Oh, yeah, SimCity was one
or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Does Godzilla count as weather?
SimCity, you can have tornadoes and earthquakes, and I think in the first SimCity it was guaranteed to have the big San Francisco earthquake happen, when your year ticked to that year, something like that.
Oh, I'm happy you mentioned that type of a game, because a game that I picked up a little bit ago and I played a little bit, the entire premise is survive the weather, and that would be Frostpunk.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, because I've played this game a lot. It's a good one.
It's not really my jam. I'm more of a fan of Against the Storm, but the Storm is more of the antagonist rather than an actual effect in Against the Storm, so I didn't feel like it counted. But I've played a little bit of this on the recommendation of one of my work friends, Trevor. And this is it's really unrelenting. Oh my god! It's just it's the darkest dungeon of city builders is the best way I can explain it.
It sounds so metal when you explain it like that.
I mean, you've played it, Lunarsar. You can just probably explain it a little bit better than I can, because but is that an accurate description?
Or...
No. I've restarted half a dozen times. I just kept. I am not good at this game at all.
Oh, I've beaten it multiple times. I've gone through multiple pathways, and I've done a lot of the bonus challenges in the DLC. I haven't done all the DLCs. There's actually quite a lot, but yeah, no. This game is unrelenting, and it's a survival against the weather. As far as weather goes, this is the ultimate weather game, because you're trying to survive a nuclear winter, essentially. Well, I don't know.
You can absolutely. Your entire colony will freeze to death if you are not on top of your game. Straight up. It's just you lost half your population. Wasn't warm enough. They died in the frost.
Yeah.
That's a weird sound effect after you lose half your population.
It's not from a nuclear winter, but it's kind of that concept of just the the planet's temperature just keeps getting colder and colder and colder. I mean, it's just a natural up the world,
and this is how it is.
Well, I don't think it had
an expedition from like London or something, and you find like this reactor which you've been looking for, and you try to do a settlement, and like in like the first like 2 weeks of the game, it's like sitting there, it's like, well, people are getting a little crowded and stuff, so like we need to decide whether we're just going to make them work overtime and not give them as much food, or whether we're going to make them happy and then possibly half of them starve and freeze to death because we don't have enough resources. Also, this guy died, and we probably need to figure out what we're going to do with the dead. And we need laws. Laws would be great. Like the more oppressive, the better. Like if we get some oppressive laws going on here, along with the dystopian feel, and just make them work all the time, and then just like have the ones we don't like freeze to death, that would be super. And I'm like, I'm on day 3. What is this game?
Well, like this is actually one that you don't necessarily want to fill out your tech tree, because the more of the tech tree you fill out, the more oppressive you make your government. Because it lets you range everywhere from like a dictator, communist dictatorship to a theocracy dictatorship. If you fully explore either tree all the way, you end in a full-on dictatorship.
Now you're making it sound like Alpha Centauri.
So, but I mean, to get the better endings, you need to not go too far in either tech tree. Pick one and go as far as you need to make it through to the end. And I mean, I think in the story, I don't think it has anything to do with like, oh, we messed up the weather. It's just, no, an ice age was coming and now we need to survive it. And I mean, it gets unrelenting. Like at the final end, there's a gauntlet where I think it gets to like minus 80 degrees Celsius at the very end, and it's just one massive cold snap that you need to survive. And I mean, just like the warm weather is minus 20 degrees, which is Celsius, which is ridiculously cold. But you got to make different decisions. Like, are you going to let children, they yearn for the mines? Are you going to send them into the mines?
Are we gonna make the kids go into the mines? It's probably warm there. I think you get the work done. Hey, it's double win.
You got to make sure you build shelter for them, even if they're working in the mines. In fact, there is a bit of a learning curve, because when you don't understand the way a lot of the shelters work and the heat mechanics work, like you can get wrecked early on pretty easily.
That's what kept happening to me. I just kept getting wrecked. And I should point out, I was playing on the easiest difficulty. I was like, man, I'm glad I only paid $5 for this game. Otherwise, I would have been upset.
Well, yeah, there's actually a humble bundle for this game right now, I think.
Although I've heard that Frostpunk 2, The Search for More Money, not worth it at all. Don't bother with it.
I didn't get it. They said they made a lot of changes to it that I'm not sure I don't know. From what they said,
going off of the recommendation of my friend, who he plays all sorts of games all sorts of times. So if he says it sucks, I'm willing to bet it sucks.
And honestly, all the DLC, like one of the DLCs, I was enjoying it at first, but then the scenarios that happened was a bit too much for me, and it kind of turned me off to it. But I really like the base campaign, and you have to figure out, do you want the kids to work? There are times where the furnaces break down and you need to decide, an adult can't make it in there. Do I send in a kid to fix it? And he might not make it out. If someone gets frostbite, loses limbs, like how do you treat them? How do you, put them in the hospital?
Do you treat them, or do you just let them fester?
Do you just let them fester? Do you get the technology to do prosthetics, and you get a prosthetic, you send them back out to work? Or do you...
is workers' comp a thing in your thing? Do you just take care of them because they work?
Because it sounds like such a cheerful game.
Well, you know what the first thing I thought when I played this game is like, this sounds like just like the perfect game for Splice. This sounds like what he would implement in a dystopian frost-filled future.
And so, if people dies, you have to figure out how to dispose of the bodies.
Are you gonna burn them? Do you want to give?
You're going to burn them? You're going to make a
graveyard?
A graveyard? Yeah. Or you're going to just store them somewhere, in a storage area? Though if you store them, you have to make sure you don't put them near a heater. Otherwise, everyone starts getting sick from the rottingness, where if you just keep it outside of your city where it's cold, well, it's cold enough that it's not an issue.
Yeah.
But
the frozen body pit.
So I've only heard the name Frostpunk. I haven't.
Yeah, same here.
It's interesting because this is weather as the game.
The game is weather. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you want to fight the weather, this is the game for you. If you like existential crises and compromising your morals for the betterment of the greater all while sacrificing the few, this is the game for you. If you like slowly freezing to death, this is the game for you.
That last Venn diagram is a fairly small.
There are times where, like, okay, for the next few days it's going to get 20 degrees colder, and you have to prepare for it, and then you have a little relief, and you have to manage your wood, you have to manage your coal, you have to manage your steel. It's resource management, people management. It's
you manage your resource wrong early game, you're done.
Yeah,
like just full collapse within 2 months.
I mean, and I've done it with not losing anyone and getting a bunch of automatons, and you can get good at this game. This is a game you can definitely get good at.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so we've gone in that direction where it's like, oh, that's a good thing. We need to go in a different direction where people complain about stuff. So
good. I was hoping you would bring this one up. Your favorite.
So I never actually really had to deal with the weather. I quit before it was a problem.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of this one.
Yeah. Oh, this was at the top of my list.
Oh yeah, this is when I'm like, you got to bring this up. Both the rain and the lightning.
Baggins.
Such a pain.
Yes.
Would you like to comment on you trying to get on top of a rock?
Oh gosh. Well, that was the most frustrating part. Is the rain. Anytime it rained, it became impossible to climb. And
sometimes, like, you're halfway up, and then it just starts raining on you.
Exactly. You're making this epic climb, and then suddenly it's just like, down came the rain and washed the Hillian out.
Yeah.
But yeah. The other thing that's really interesting is the materials of the weapons that you carry matter. And so, for example, there are wooden weapons. And if you're wandering around in a hot area or anything like that, suddenly your wooden weapons or shields can catch fire. And so you switch to metal weapons. However, with the metal weapons, if you're walking around and it begins to rain and storm, it sparks and you get nuked by lightning. And when I say nuked, I'm talking like hardcore kaboom.
No,
that doesn't sound
fun. It can be fun, especially if you have armor that protects you from lightning and you want to just stand next to an enemy when you know you're about to get shocked so they get hit too.
Or throw a metal weapon at them.
Yeah, that too.
Stick it in them and let it be a lightning rod.
I do appreciate they give you a couple sparks ahead of time, like, hey, just a warning, you're gonna die.
I have to tell you honestly, I didn't have any problem with the weather in this game. Whenever it rains, like, well, not going up there. Let me go just walk around somewhere. Let me get on my motorcycle and start driving.
About cooking though?
Well, yeah, it was also annoying. Like, if you wanted to use fire to get height, like, it's not just when you're climbing, but when you're trying to make an updraft from your fire, and then the rain comes and puts the fire out, and you're like, yeah.
Or like Spice is saying, if you want to cook anything, you have to have a fire.
Yeah, rain would put out cooking spots too, huh?
Well, so one, this looks incredibly cinematic.
Oh, it's amazing.
So where's the dividing line where, like, you like the weather because it does add, just absolute character to what's going on, but it also like hinders your gameplay, and like when's that not fun?
It sounds to me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I can't think of an upside to the rain in Breath of the Wild. Like, I guess with the lightning, you can use it to your advantage, but it's still annoying most of the time because you usually are using metal equipment.
So you're saying that when weather is solely an impediment to the player, when it's all downside, there's kind of no, like, when there's no advantage to be gained from it.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's not the point of the game. Like Frostpunk, there's no advantage to it, but like that's the whole point of the game.
The other thing is
the antagonist in Frostpunk, though.
If it's built properly, then over time there are ways to overcome the weather. But and those are implemented in Breath of the Wild. But at the same time, it is an obnoxious because you have to deal with the inventory system, which, as we all know, is Splice's favorite part of any Zelda game.
It is
of any game, from what I've heard.
Pretty much, yeah.
If you don't know, Splice's closet actually looks just like the inventory system in Breath of the Wild because he loved it so much.
Oh, so much.
That's for you, the viewers.
Speaking of annoying weather, I have another one to bring up if you'd like.
I do too.
Fire Emblem 7 in particular.
There's weather in Fire Emblem?
Whoa. So here's the thing. There is only weather in like 2 games in Fire Emblem, maybe. And Fire Emblem 7 is one of them.
This is the one that just came out in the US as Fire Emblem, right?
Yes.
On the Game Boy Advance?
Yes. Fire Emblem, only on Game Boy Advance. What happened to Dorcas? That commercial. So...
Okay.
Let me skip forward to see...
It's the one with Lynn. And
yes.
I like Lynn.
Oh, what are they doing? I don't know. They're doing some sort of weird, early... cheese straight. Here it is. Okay. So, throughout, weather is cinematic in certain other chapters, or it can be used as, in other games it's cinematic, or it's used as, a justification for Fog of War. But in Fire Emblem 7, they decided, you know what would be cool? If the weather could change while you're on the map. So, for instance, here, it was fine, it was clear, and then the rain started. And now that the rain started, all your units take 2 tiles to move through tiles that they would only take 1 space to move. Okay. So basically all movement is halved.
Halved movement. Yikes.
That's you and for... It's for you and for the enemy, and it doesn't affect indoor tiles. So there are certain maps where there's indoor and outdoor.
Does it affect flyers or just foot people?
I believe it affects everyone.
Okay.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Let's just make combat take twice as long.
I'll put it this way: there's a reason why it only exists in this game and didn't exist it didn't exist prior because maybe technology or other stuff, but didn't exist after this because they realized people just hate this.
Well, especially as a random effect, where it's all right, I'm gonna set this all up. This is gonna be good, and it's nope.
The thing is, it's not random.
Oh, okay.
But the game, it's not specifically random. It's based on, by turn. But the game maybe gives you, a 1-turn advance notice on whether the weather is changing. Or you can go into, the augury menu, and the old lady in the augury will tell you if there will be weather changing on this map. It only happens on, 3 maps in the entire game out of, the 30-something. But... it was annoying enough that those 3 maps are people are no, not even gonna bother. But as you can see, back to sun again, and now you have full movement.
Now, Mithril, I have a question for you.
Oh yeah, it did affect the flyers too. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mithril, I have a question for you about another game that implements weather, and it's one that you and I have talked about at length, and that's Final Fantasy XIV. Because there's a day-night cycle, but there's also a rain cycle that comes in and out and affects. What do you think of it? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I think it can be atmospheric. I think it's fun in sometimes. I will say it's quite annoying when it comes to doing things especially the original Realm Reborn, what are they called? Landmarks or points of interest?
Yes.
Because some of them are not just do a specific emote at a specific location, but they also have to be at a specific time of day or specific weather. There's one where it's you have to be at, was it Nymea's Hall or something, the place where the weddings happen, exactly at noon during perfect daylight, I think, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then don't even get me started on the interaction with fishing.
The interaction with fixing. Well, honestly, in my opinion, one of the most annoying aspects of it is like if you're just going through the story for the first time and you come across like there were times when I've played myself and when I watched streamers where they would come to an awesome cutscene and it would show this amazing like mountain vista or something, but the weather's foggy. And so everything is obscured. You're just like, well, I just don't get that. Like that's just this really cool effect that I don't get to see.
Yeah, it's like you can use the weather in a lot of cinematic ways, but when you have it on a preset schedule that is regardless of player progression, then it can like I would say Shadowbringers does it fantastically because that is determined by player progression.
Right. But I think that's cool. Like that actually, you know, it affects the game because you're like, oh, I did something, I changed something here, and now the weather's different. That's kind of neat.
But then you get like Heavensward or Endwalker, where it's like, yeah, sometimes you can go into Sharlayan and it's like sunny and beautiful, but most of the time you go into Sharlayan and it's gray and rainy and wet and drab and
and you're like, but Sharlayan is like this gorgeous city that they spent so much time on making it amazing looking, and then you go and you're just like, oh.
Then it's rainy, and it's like, well, welcome to England. Welcome to fantasy England.
That. Well, that's the thing. Like the architecture is like Mediterranean and Greek almost, but you've got like, you know, northern winters going on. It's just like, oh, I don't get to enjoy this aspect.
Yeah. It's cute that they have it set up now where when it's raining, you can set for your character to automatically pull out a parasol. But even then, it's kind of annoying because
I do like that.
It takes up your primary action hotbar. So then it's like, I was trying to mount up or I was trying to attack this mob. Now I need to manually sheathe my parasol in order to attack.
Right.
Yeah, in World of Warcraft, the weather is only cosmetic.
In FF14, mostly it's cosmetic.
Yeah. No, it doesn't affect anything. Now, the funny part about what I love about World of Warcraft and weather is more just the fact that it didn't exist until patch like 1.6 or 7.
Oh, that's
and so,
right.
Like,
I came in after that.
If you go through like the names of the patches, it's normally like whatever dungeon they're adding. Then it's like, you know, it's squeezed in between like Maradon and Scolomancer. So weather. That's just the name of the patch.
Yeah. One quick thing on FF14's weather as well that I forgot to mention is that they have custom names for like every different weather. So it's like you'll go up, there'll be a little thing by your compass or mini map that'll be like, you know, cloudy, rainy, sunny. But if you're like in a raid, it can be like cataclysm or something like that.
Oh yeah,
like that apocalypse.
Yeah. Where it's just like, okay, there's just a tiny little bit of extra storytelling in there that they put in. You're like, oh, that's a nice little touch. It doesn't mean anything, but it's cool to see that they thought of it.
Everything's cheery until the weather pattern says void.
What is that weather pattern?
I don't know. Maybe not void, but it's just like nothing good, I'll tell you that. That's when you check the weather during raids or specific trials, like, oh, the Destroyer of Worlds is what you're fighting, and it's causing a localized weather pattern exactly around, you know, located entirely within your kitchen.
Yeah, there's a lot of voids in FF14, so...
Yeah.
It's just...
Now,
like, if I ever looked at my weather app and it said void, it's just like, okay, well, we're not going there today.
Yeah.
Now, Looney, like, though, if you have to go in, it's like, sorry guys, can't come into work. Weather says void.
Yep. Now, Looney, when you were saying Phases of the Moon, I thought you were talking about FF4, the After Years.
Oh,
because that actually does have an impact on gameplay, and it drives me crazy. I really kind of hate it. But
which on whose quest does it affect in the After Years?
All of them. It affects combat. In FF4, the After Years, when you're walking around, it changes the phase of the moon, and depending on what phase the moon is in, it affects whether your attacks are stronger or your magic is stronger or weaker, or
I had forgotten that.
oh gosh, it was my least favorite part of the combat. Well, my second least favorite part of the combat. My least favorite part of the combat is that it happened every 2 steps.
That is an issue.
Sounds like somebody needs a Moogle charm.
Yeah, they don't have Moogle charms in FF4. There weren't any Moogles in that one yet.
Okay, so we've talked about weather as a random event causing issues. We've talked about it affecting fights. Lizzie, as our Pokemon expert,
yes,
weather's interesting in Pokemon because it is a random effect, but you can also change it, right?
Yes, there are a few ways depending on which game you're playing. But there are, starting in Gen 2, they had weather. And for the most part, it was just moves that you would use in the game.
Like rainy day, I think was one, right?
Yeah, I think rainy day was one. There's sandstorm and hail and sunny day.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like hail and sandstorm.
And strange for psychic as well, right? Or what was it? Like you make the weather feel weird? What does it say?
I think that's later.
Yeah, I think it's like Gen 6's terrains things.
Yeah. Later they add terrains. That's not weather though. But they do have hail and sandstorm will do damage at the end of each turn unless you're certain typing. So like ice types don't get hurt by the hail, rock and steel don't get hurt by sandstorm, things like that. There's so much that has evolved since then. They now have, I think it's Gen 3, they added cast form, which you can see here, and it changes depending on what weather there is. You have weather outside of battles as well. And so if you're in an area that has a weather happening and you go into battle, the weather's already there. You can change it with the move, but once you leave, then it'll go back to whatever the area weather is. The whole Groudon Kyogre fight is the whole weather fight too, which is totally awesome cutscene.
Oh, that's right. Harsh sunlight. Yeah.
And they've added even more different types. Legends Arceus, they didn't want to have hail, and so they have snow instead, which affects, I think, ice types. So snow, yeah, it increases the speed of ice type Pokemon, which is kind of cool.
Really? The speed?
Yeah, and Pokemon are more likely to be inflicted with frostbite, because that was another thing. Instead of being frozen in Legends Arceus, you get frostbite, and that causes damage, which is interesting. And the one other one I mentioned to Lunsar just earlier, fog in Legends Arceus. I said catch rate, but I was wrong there. But the accuracy of your attacks is reduced if the weather is foggy in a battle.
Oh, okay. So it's
just any of the types
battle
not
accuracy
suffer from that?
No, fog affects everything, as far as I can tell.
I would have thought maybe like ghost or dark or something.
That would actually be cool, but
there were also some different like specific moves or specific abilities that determined like were affected by weather as well, where it's like, okay, sun increases fire moves and weakens water, but Pokemon with chlorophyll ability will be faster, or using solar beam will be instant instead of taking a charge up turn.
Yes, that is correct as well. And like if you have rainy weather, then fire type is weaker. There's also, if you have rain going, is it Thunderbolt? One of the electric type moves that normally, doesn't normally have a great accuracy, but it becomes 100% accuracy in rainy weather.
Really? That's cool.
Well, that opens up some interesting strategies, especially in duos.
Yep, and a lot of these, there's also some abilities like Cloud9 and Airlock will exclude or clear the weather. So like Cloud9, if you have that ability on your Pokemon, then things like hail damage no longer affect your team, which is nice.
As I've had Pokemon die from hail damage before, which is just annoying.
That's the worst when you like false swipe something to catch it and then it dies to weather.
Yeah.
And you're like, ah.
Ever use a Shedinja?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
1 HP gimmick Pokemon.
So now, would you say, Lizzie, you like weather in Pokemon?
It depends. A lot of the time, no. Especially like in some of the newer games, Scarlet and Violet, there are certain areas that will have, like the desert has sandstorms or the mountain has blizzards, and it will affect your visual when you're trying to do like a shiny hunt. It is hard to see the Pokemon and see whether what you're looking for is on the screen. And
well,
so
the lighting
times
in
like
that game in general is terrible.
Yeah, that is true. So times like that, it's frustrating, but the accessibility to all these different strategies in battle can be really cool. I'm just not great at battles myself, and honestly, I've said many times battles are like my least favorite part of Pokemon. So that type of way isn't my favorite. But also, it is still cool, and sometimes it is just beautiful.
Does the area weather also affect spawn rates of Pokemon?
Yes, I was just going to mention that too. So
how so?
Well, for instance, Sword and Shield, there are certain spawns that it changes the percent of that spawn based on the weather. There are some Pokemon that will only show up if you have foggy weather, and that's a lot of the psychic types. Things like, I mean, Mimikyu's not, but that's one. And Muna is another one. There's, it affects spawn rates depending on things. So sunny weather, you'll see a lot more fire types. Rainy, you'll see a bit more water typing. It's kind of cool.
I had no clue it was so... My arm just popped up for some reason on my microphone. I had no clue it was that involved.
Yeah, it's one of those it got added and it's like, okay, cool. And then over the years, there's been like little tweaks here and there that you're like, this is really a diverse and in-depth thing that they've added.
Well, good job on Pokemon, I guess. All right, there's another game that I just remember loving the weather on. And that's Minecraft. It's a lot of times it would be a problem because you would be doing something, it would start raining, and if it was raining sometimes that could be a problem for you if it caused the darkness to get low enough that zombies could spawn like under trees and such.
Oh yeah.
But the ambience of the weather in Minecraft is really good.
No, it is always interesting where like one chunk changes the weather typing, like it's precipitating and you take one step and then it's
no, because now you're in a taiga, so clearly it snows here immediately.
Yeah, there's no gradualness to it. But I did like how the snow like actually would pile up on the ground.
Yep. I don't know, it just looked really cool. And just, again, it's just for ambience, but it ends up looking really neat. And in a game honestly, that's all about making your own fun, I think it's a really good decision, really.
I almost always like the ambience of snow in games.
I was going to say that, but about rain. I love listening to the rain. And as soon as you mentioned Minecraft, I could hear what the rain sounded like because that was my favorite, just sitting there listening to the rain.
So this is a video that I forgot to put in here, but I wanted to bring up. So if you bring up weather in Minecraft is a game that you can mod.
Oh boy.
And people have created a hardcore weather in Minecraft. Let's see if I can find where the tornado was. There we are. And so it strips out the trees when it goes through.
That's terrifying.
It's
the world of modded Minecraft is very terrifying.
It is 100%. But I don't know. I saw it and I'm just like, that is hilarious. I would never want to play on it though.
Yeah, our server at like the guy who hosted our server for a long time, he toyed with the idea of making an aging mod, like a ruins mod, where you basically have your server and then you apply the mod to it and it makes time pass and like walls collapse and stuff like that, but never ended up making it.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. Another one, and I love that someone included this. Metroid Prime.
That's one that I like. You asked for the first one. This is the first game that I thought of as just the ambience, because I love when you first land on Talon 4, and you get out of the gunship, and you're in that landing zone that's always raining. And what I thought was the coolest thing was you could get into the first person view to aim. And when I was first playing this game, when it was a brand new game on the GameCube, I look up at the rain, and then suddenly, since the game is kind of made to where you're looking out a visor, I see raindrops form on the visors as the rain hits, and it splatters on the visor and streaks down and runs off. And I thought that was the coolest visual effect ever. I'd never seen that in a game before, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And you could see some of the raindrops hitting it as it walked through. And like when you got in the water, got out of the water, you saw the water like streak down. It was just purely for the ambiance, but I thought it was the coolest thing ever in Metroid Prime.
It is so cool, especially when it's either rain or fog, and you can like see Samus's face in the visor as well, reflected.
Oh yeah, like I'd often like go up to a wall, or especially it worked really well underwater, but you go up to a wall, charge up that beam, and just shoot it into the wall right next to you, and you just see that big flash and see Samus's face reflected there.
Well, and it's such a minor thing, but it's just part of the immersion in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And like they try and sell you on the idea that this HUD, this isn't some thing we've thrown in here because you need an interface because you're playing a video game. It's like, no, this is Samus's visor. This is what she sees. You're playing as Samus. It's all in the game.
Such a cool concept. Such a cool concept.
It's awesome if you can pull it off. It's sort of like in what is it, Dead Space, how your health is on you because you're in third person view. It's on your back.
Mm-hmm.
Just very.
Because they wanted a game with no external HUD.
Yeah, and just like that's clever. It's a clever use of it.
Yeah, and I think just I think this game probably still is the best example of how to make your HUD work in universe. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, it's her visor. This is her HUD. It's not my HUD. It's hers.
Yep. If you can pull it off, it always looks good. Someone put some game called Poseidon Master of Atlantis on this list.
Yes. So when we were talking about Frostpunk and city building games, there is a game, it's a city building game that I grew up with where ancient Greek themed, where you play, Greek or Atlantis and different heroes and myth stories. And there's one scenario, it's the final scenario of the Atlantis expansion, the Poseidon expansion, which is Atlantis. where you play through Atlantis getting collapsed by constant earthquakes and tsunamis and everything, and you still have to like complete these quests and do these things while your whole city is being destroyed by weather.
That sounds
and
fun.
So, well, yes and no. It's one of those things where it's fun going into it as like okay, this is the problem I have to solve. The frustrating part about it is you've been building up Atlantis, and it like, as you can see here, the city is just as it is now. And if you built your city poorly, if you didn't plan things out right, and then suddenly, oh, tidal waves cleared, you need to have like 6 triremes set up, but all the places that you had set apart for docks are washed away and you can't rebuild them there. Then you have to fully change where you're putting your docks now, and then it just, cascades from there. So it can be very annoying and very destructive, but I thought it was a cool concept when we were talking about like Armageddon like weather effects and how it ends up affecting gameplay.
That would definitely qualify.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is you be careful with that beachfront property here, huh?
Oh yeah, no. I'm just hoping that in this thing they get it all washed away. But I don't know if they do.
Now, one area we talk about where the gameplay is, went ahead, both like it's ambience and it actually affects the gameplay. This level, Gusty Glade in Donkey Kong Country 2, the use of the leaves to indicate the wind is done so smoothly. And it's one of those, like, we see this effect in a lot of games, but for some reason Donkey Kong Country 2 feels like they indicate it better than most games in this sort of genre. I just have a soft spot for Donkey Kong Country 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one, and I don't think I had it here, because it's kind of a rarer environmental effect with weather. I'm looking for in a snowbound land, Donkey Kong Country. Maybe it's just snow Donkey Kong Country. So they actually, God, I gotta find it. They actually do a great job of using the multiple. Here it is. Let me post this here. Snow Barrel Blast. That's what it was called. They do a good job of showing the snow rolling in from the background, which is not something you typically would see. You wouldn't see weather coming in these games. And so it starts off, just as you can see here, no snow whatsoever. Gotta get through the winky level. All right. So there's no snow whatsoever. As you start moving forward, the snow in the background starts to play in, and as you get further and further in the level, oops, that went too far. You can now see it in front of the trees that are in the background. And then as you get even further, it's now in front of you, and you're now in the snowstorm. And it was just, I mean, look, Rare in this era was just absolutely on top of their game, but I had not seen anything like that at all in video games. I don't know if I'm the only one, though. Let's see. I think, yeah, okay, yeah, it does get thicker. Now, it doesn't ever actually affect your ability to move in this game. At least I don't remember it doing so. But I forgot they do that with Donkey Kong. The other thing that is cool about this is the fact that it does actually start obscuring your vision. And so it's kind of a different style weather effect than they tend to have in 2D games. Where it's just
the Donkey.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, agree. Like, yeah, the Donkey Kong Country games in particular did a lot of things with the, it's a 2D platformer, but it has a lot of elements that feel like they're more 3D than they are.
Yeah, it's not mode 7, but there's just a lot of layers they can play with. Mm-hmm. What's cool about it is there's a website called DKC Atlas that literally has maps of all the levels, and it lets you control all the layers. And so you can sort of see how the sauce is made doing that. Someone very dedicated made that site. I don't know who it was, but it's a really cool thing to add that I haven't seen for many other games. All right, there was one more thing with weather I wanted to talk about. And that's the Wii Forecast channel. This was one of the most random things they included on the Wii. And I was so confused by it, but at the same time, kind of interested. Because it actually had a really good interface. It moves so smoothly. You could just check the weather anywhere in the world. And it had one of the funnier penny arcades.
Even Antarctica?
Yep.
I never played around with it.
Like, look at how smoothly the world moves.
Yeah.
There was actually something interesting about that is, there were very few games that took advantage of this, but do you remember the game Nights?
No.
Nights into
Dreams?
In IGT, yeah. I believe, I never played it, but I remember it saying something like it would actually access the weather thing and affect the weather in-game.
Depending upon what your weather is there?
Locally, yeah.
Interesting. So I have found
honestly, the game I feel like that would be most interesting in is Animal Crossing, but that could lead to other complications because people are trying to collect certain things and yada yada yada.
No.
Or it never snows here, how can I get the snow stuff?
Yeah. So this is
games that use the forecast channel.
Yeah, this is by GVG. Apparently the Sonic verse. Okay, did not know that. The other one I remember weather being important in is the Mario Golf games, and I hated it. There it is, Nights.
Journey of Dreams, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I never played it, but I remember seeing that in a magazine at the time and just thinking, that's kind of interesting.
It's definitely under the category of I hear that and I say to myself, wow, that's really creative. I wonder what you could do with it. And then I can't help but think that every instance of the wrong thing, the wrong weather at the wrong time pissing me off. It's like, great, I play it indoors and I'm still getting hosed by the fact that it's raining.
Doesn't Animal Crossing use the local weather as well?
That's what I was saying. It would have been interesting, but no, it has weather for each day, but it's not influenced by anything in particular.
Because I know there are some games that do check your local weather to decide the in-game weather.
Speaking of RPGs where weather can affect things, I never played too much of it, but it just got a remaster recently, Oblivion, and I guess the Elder Scrolls games in general. They have their NPCs do a lot of different things, and they change their behavior, if I remember right, based on weather patterns a lot as well, which is cool, but can also be very frustrating and or lead to glitches when it's like, okay, this NPC is supposed to be here, but the weather says that they're inside. Yeah, with glitches, never happened before. And I feel like that's one of like the 20 different ways that in Skyrim the blood on the ice quest can glitch out. Notoriously like the most glitchable quest in that game, where I feel like I had at least one time where when I arrived in Windhelm or one of the W places, I forget what it is.
There's always like a big snowstorm in Windhelm.
Yes,
right?
I think it's Windhelm, because Winterhold's where the college is and Whiterun's the first city. I don't know if it was related to the weather or not, but Blood on the Ice is supposed to be someone gets murdered and you investigate the murder. Well, oftentimes it glitches out where the murderer, like, it doesn't trigger an event that allows you to capture them, or it doesn't trigger them coming back or showing, hey, you got the wrong person, or stuff like that. One of the ways that I glitched it out was the NPC that was supposed to get murdered never left the inn. And so I'm wondering if it was because
when your murderee refuses to be murdered.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was wondering if that could have been related to the weather, because maybe the weather was like such that they were programmed to not leave during this weather pattern and then glitched out because the check for them to leave and get murdered got passed or didn't happen. I don't know for sure, but it was just a thought I had, and it was something that I feel like could have interacted with this weather thing.
It's interesting.
So I think one of the most interesting examples of using the local weather, though, is a game called Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hand. Have you heard of that?
No.
Name sounds really vaguely familiar, but can't say I have.
I've never played it, but it's one of those interesting ones. But there's a solar sensor on the game pack, and to charge the weapons in your game, it needs to detect sunlight. So
trying to make kids go outside.
Yes, it's a game trying to make you go outside and get some sun and get your GBA to get some sun.
Except the GBA is difficult to see in the sun.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem.
On that note, does Pokemon Go have weather effects?
Yes, it does. It'll affect the spawns, and
I'm just saying, like, to play it, you actually have to go out in said weather. So I mean,
yeah, there are weather warnings if like it sees your local weather has some extreme weather. When you open the game, will be like you have to click the "I am safe" button.
It's like, please do not actually go out into the storm to catch Electabuzz.
Don't play under strong sunlight for too long. Okay, at least it warns you to not get a sunburn.
This has got to be one of the most half-baked ideas I've ever heard.
Speaking of weather, I know that there were a lot of, like, back in like the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance days where they had like different cartridge packs that like stuck out of the back and had a battery or something. Were there any that had like a solar thing on them?
Other than Boktai.
This game, Boktai's the one I know
did it
of.
Actually have like a solar like pad or something on the back of it?
Yeah, it had a solar panel that's sticking out of the your
image
GBA.
of this. Oh yeah, sure enough, it was one of the bulky things that.
Huh. I have not heard of this. This has got to be the weirdest decision I've ever heard.
I'm gonna share the image
in the light.
General chat here, but yeah, it did have an extra bulky chip panel.
Man, that is such a bad idea. All right, well, weather in games can be cool.
Konami,
can be annoying.
All right, I want to mention one I haven't played.
Oh.
But it's weather, it's video games, it's very important. This weather was necessary.
Yeah.
Silent Hill. I never played it, but that fog was necessary. That was a game requirement, essentially.
And it was by
accident. You've heard about what happened with the remaster.
Mm-hmm.
because it was done because of limitations and everything, and so they increased the draw distance, and it just kind of takes the ambiance away entirely.
Yeah, in the
There's
game
a
Thanks
where
for messing it up, Silent Hill.
yeah,
For Silent Hill remake.
no, it's just one of those things that again, we've talked about it a lot, playing with your limitations. It's like, man, we have a crappy draw distance. What are we going to do? What if we call it a horror game instead and suddenly it's not a bug, it's a feature?
Mm-hmm. And there's a
Yeah,
very
because
different sorry.
I was just saying, like, future games without that fog, it just lost some of the creepiness, is what I've heard. Like I said, I haven't played these.
Well, there's a very different ambiance between being in like an abandoned town and being effectively what feels like inside a snow globe.
Yeah, I'll never forget one night when I used to work the night shift at my job, and coming home, the fog was so thick that I couldn't drive at the speed limit. I had to drive slower just because I couldn't see far enough. And it's just freaky when you can't see to the end of your street.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a
This
good catch.
fog is so thick I can't even see my own cataracts.
I don't think that's true.
It's a Mr. Burns quote.
No. I
But
was gonna say I don't necessarily want to bring in real world weather too much, but yeah, one of the scariest driving experiences I've ever had was late at night during like just after or like it was lightly snowing, but there was snow on the ground. But it was foggy and the wind was pushing the snow on the ground.
you feel
to
like you're going
obscure
at
the
warp
road.
speed if you're driving.
It was terrible, terrifying. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can't see the lines and you have no idea of, if someone's coming up on, in front of you, if you're even staying in your own lane. Yeah.
Lizzie, remember that one time we were going to the airport and it was like the thickest fog ever?
Well, and it was freezing too. It was like early morning. It was cold, snowing, foggy. Yeah, I was trying to get us to the airport on time, but also driving slow because it was scary.
That was terrifying. Like, yeah, you couldn't even see the lines on the road. It was so foggy. Like, it was thick, man. Ooh.
All right. Real weather. Scarier than video game weather. It's true.
What about in
real weather can kill you?
What about in the Sega Genesis X-Men game? You can play as Storm. Does that count?
No, but she is in the thumbnail for the pun. Anyway.
Yeah. Though there was some scary weather in Xenoblade games. Most of it was kind of ambiance, and it would affect like which monsters are spawning. But there was one, it was called an ether storm, and you just take constant damage while it was in effect. It was kind of annoying.
So stuff like that, ideal. like in No Man's Sky, where you have just weird weather effects that'll just mess you up. Especially early on in the game, unless you're in Explorer mode. Because hey, it's raining acid. Oh, my suit isn't rated for environmental, and I'm nowhere near where I need to be, so I guess I need to go find shelter now. Let me get the ray gun out and make a cave.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, in the ether storm, it's kind of like there's electricity crackling everywhere, and you're just taking damage. But yeah, acid rain, yeah, those sorts of things. Those are kind of annoying because once again, that's just a hindrance. It's not really. It's like yes, it's ambiance, but it's just getting in your way.
Yeah, I mean, like No Man's Sky, a lot of that is just hindrance depending on where you're at. Like, it's just like I played as a casual game, so I'm always on like Explorer mode, so I have access to absolutely everything at all times. But like, I did try and play it like as an actual game and got caught in the acid rain, nowhere near anything, and just absolutely screwed up my playthrough. So lost about an hour's worth of stuff because it just suit wasn't rated for it. Was very early on in the game, and I was a little unsure as to what I was doing, and just dead skis. And I don't even think I've been through all of them because there's all sorts of weird weather effects because of the way the planets are generated and such.
Okay, so you've played No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Have you played Elite Dangerous by chance?
I have not.
Okay, I mean that. Okay, I'm just curious. I have No Man's Sky on Steam. I haven't played it yet. It says that it's playable on the Steam Deck. Would you recommend mouse and keyboard, gamepad, or throttle and stick?
I've played it both ways. I tend to be mouse and keyboard when I have the chance, but I can play it with like throttle and stick easily. Yeah. I can't say that I recommend it too greatly because I got it for Steam sale, like I think for like $5 or $10 or something like that. And I got it solely so I could get names for my Spelljammer campaign. And it was I'm not even joking. Like I said, there's like, I'm going to do a Spelljammer campaign. But I hate coming up with planet names. Oh, No Man's Sky is $5. Yeah, that seems okay. And then I can also get like, what these planets are like and stuff like that. Cool. And that was my entire motivation behind getting it.
Just name the planet Bob.
Okay.
I can't name all the planets, Bob.
Bob won.
Not with that attitude.
Fair point.
I suppose like honorable mention also should go to games like Civilization, especially Civilization 6, which was in a later patch, like disasters and weather actually can like completely throw off your entire run there. Splice has seen the picture of how I play Civilization 6 and the way I taunt people when I take their cities. But like, later on in the game, it wasn't present in the beginning of the game, but later on in the game, you could have a tornado come through and just rip apart your capital and just like you're just screwed. It's just like, well, here goes my next turn. It's just building everything back up. I hope no one decides to attack me during that time.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, is that realistic? Oh, yes. The entire civilizations have been destroyed by natural disasters.
Yeah, like I live. Yeah, I live in a city that's always on the verge of being destroyed by a natural disaster.
Yes.
It's super
I feel like it's
fun.
been wiped out at least twice in my lifetime.
Yeah, right. Like
but you're still there, so there's that.
Like it's weird growing up here. I always heard about Hurricane George. That was the big one. That was the one my grandparents talked about, my mom talked about, and then in the span of my lifetime, we've had Katrina and I forget.
Was it Rita?
Irene?
Was it Rita?
No, it wasn't Rita. It was lately. It was an I name, and I'm just blanking on it because I don't want to relive it. It wasn't Irene. It was something else. It was the latest one that hit us. Something like that. But basically, it's just like, it's weird that not only in the span of my lifetime, but in the span of the last 20 years of my lifetime,
and snow.
I have been through 200-year hurricane storms in my area.
Was it Ida?
Oh,
Ida. That was it.
Ida, that's right.
So that was super fun. And by super fun, I mean not fun at all.
But it's like, it's interesting because that's sort of, I think, the dividing line of when it's fun is it realistic? And it's like, yes, it's usually not going to be fun.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, there's a difference between, like, what you're seeing on the screen right now with Civilization 6, where it's just like, oh, a hurricane just showed up and just screwed me over. Whereas if you're playing, like, Sims City, part of the fun was, I'm just going to have a Godzilla attack. And a hurricane. And meteors. And aliens.
Yeah, you just want to see the destruction.
Run, my subjects. Fear me, for I am vengeful.
Yeah, like when the games where you get to play God and just go crazy. It's like, oh, what are we going to send against the peons today? Cannibalistic Doritos. Let's go.
I'm trying to remember, in Black and White, could you cause weather to happen?
Sorry, I've got to ask Kame something.
Sure.
Do cannibalistic Doritos eat people or other Doritos?
Both.
Okay.
They eat other Doritos when they run out of people.
Okay.
Except for the spicy nachos.
Well, we're reaching the end here. So, any final thoughts?
Nobody likes weather. Stop it.
All right.
Can't really think of anything. Yeah.
All right. Nobody likes weather, apparently. All right. Let's get this wrapped up. We'll start with Lizzie.
All right, I will promote my stream, twitch.tv/Lizzie Petrichor. I do Pokemon shiny hunting. This past month, I've been trying to get Eevee because it was my daughter's birthday last week, and Eevee's her favorite, and I'm still working on it. Double over odds on the eggs. I may move on to something else, but I'm going to challenge myself in May, since May is my birthday month, to spell my name using shiny Pokemon. So Lizzy, finding Pokemon that start with those letters. That'll be my next big challenge.
Yeah, those.
If it wasn't Pokemon, I'd say Z is hard, but I'm assuming just with all of the Pokemon and all the crazy names.
The hardest one was actually I, because of how many shiny I already have. I have all the I Pokemon.
What about shiny ice climbers? Did you get those?
I am missing those. That's a fair point.
All right, perfect. Mithril.
Yeah, you can catch me at youtube.com/MithralZenith. I do mostly game design related videos, Fire Emblem primarily, but some other stuff occasionally. I just put out a video because Fire Emblem Sacred Stones dropped on NSO plus Expansion Pass just last week, and so I did a video that I just put out yesterday going through all the units in that game, and because it's a game where you have infinite experience available to you if you choose to grind for it, what the best path is for every unit in the game, in my opinion. Obviously, addressing the fact that a lot of units can go into multiple directions. So, if any of that sounds interesting, youtube.com/MithralZenith.
All right. Baggins is.
Since I don't have a podcast really to promote anymore, I'll promote a couple of things that just have been on my mind lately. First one is Akira Kurosawa. I've been on kind of a samurai movie kick.
Nice.
They're that good. Like, go back and watch them if you haven't, because holy cow, that man knew how to make a movie.
Well, I mean, so many movies have been copying his style.
I mean, Star Wars copied The Hidden Fortress, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah.
But that one, and then the game Blueprints. The best way I've heard the game described is if you play this game, you will end up with a serial killer notebook.
Baggins, open up to a random page of your book and just start reading.
Oh gosh. 1 sec.
Wait, what?
So this game is called Blueprints. It's a roguelike puzzle solver. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's a combination between Myst and Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Yes, Blueprints.
Okay. I hate absolutely everything about that sentence you just said.
So you have to take notes if you're going to solve the puzzles. But the funny thing is, the way you take notes is you end up looking like Charlie Day in the middle of Always Sunny with the red threads everywhere.
It's so true. No, like one of them, I found a memo and wrote it down. It says, doors in the West Wing are more likely to be locked. Red memo. Lie? And and it's just the kind of thing, like, if somebody found my notebook just out, I would be institutionalized.
I'm so confused.
This man is losing his mind.
It's so good. It is an absolutely crazy, awesome game. It starts off feeling very slow, but as you go in, you're like, it's on Steam. It just came out like a week ago. Like, me giving my voice to it isn't really promoting it a lot because it's getting all the press right now. Mm-hmm. And when I say all the press, I mean like the streamer attention.
It's always nice when a developer can think of something, like, you can innovate something that's kind of been around for a while, but when you make a whole new, like, no one's thought of that idea at all, like, those ones are really...
The premise is that your great uncle has left you his 45-room estate, but you inheriting it is actually it relies on you finding the 46th room. And every day the rooms are rearranged, like in Betrayal at House on the Hill. And you're not allowed to take any items in. You're not allowed to take any items out. And so each run is kind of a roguelike. It's really cool.
That's the roguelike connection. Because I've heard people say it's like a roguelike puzzle solver, puzzle game, and I'm like, how the heck does that narratively function?
Every so often you will find something that makes a permanent change. They're not common at all, but like the first time I did that, that's when I was like, oh, I see where this game is going. This is cool.
All right. Kamizite.
I have a couple of things to promote here. First of all, me. I have Crowbar. Will travel. Some people in this chat know what I'm talking about. Second, my fantastic partner, Karina J, is writing a story over on Tapas. It's called Entangle Enemies. She got a couple of chapters up. Recently, she didn't get one up this week. We've been kind of busy, but go check it out. She is fantastic. It is very well done. There will be a new chapter soon, but it may not be until next week. We'll see what's going on with that, but check it out, or I have a crowbar and I will travel.
All right, Lunastar.
Well, I actually found something close to Splice's heart to promote, because I saw it in my email today, but Humble Bundle has an XCOM bundle. It's the XCOM Complete Bundle. Yes, it does. Every XCOM, everything that's on Steam for $10. I don't even think I have all the DLC. It's like part of me wonders if it'd be worth, even though I have most of the XCOMs, would it be worth it just to get the DLC?
Might be.
I mean, for $10. They also have a Doom bundle to get all the Doom and Wolfenstein games as well, also on Steam. But that one's like $28, whereas XCOM is like $10. Like, if you want to get into Splice's,
there's a new Doom game out, so.
So if you want to get into Splice's XCOM, this is a great way to get it for $10. All XCOM, good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the great thing about XCOM is whoever, like, for each person, what's the good, the bad, the ugly is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one thing I love about the XCOM community is, for the most part,
well, we all know the good for pirates, Terror of the Deep, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, but what I like that the XCOM community is really good about acknowledging that fact, and they don't really care which game you play. Whereas
even
other
if it's
fandoms,
the Bureau,
even then they'll be like, okay, I mean, but it's just more. But don't worry, no one ever does that. The Bureau's such a half-baked mess. Anyway, but yeah, you can come watch me, twitch.tv/splicestream. About to host my first official normalized tournament. That's going to be the normalized Amiibo Rodeo with handicap assisted levelness, also known as the Narwhal tournament. It is maybe my most tortured acronym ever, but I am proud of it. So that started on Saturday.
I have a problem.
Do you win an actual narwhal?
No, you don't. But it is the actual logo. It's great. I'm very proud of it. But yeah, so see you guys on Saturday for the very first narwhal.
All right. Oh, well, I think we overleveled.